Welcome back, Lamb enthusiasts. Well, in my earnest research of the Lamb, I've been able to read many well-written and heartfelt fan opinions of this work. Well, several have expressed that the lyrics of the Lamb were Peter Gabriel at his allegorical best, letting his imagination run riot with its richly absurd sense of humor in abundant supply. Well, one writer describes it as Peter artistically lying on Sigmund Freud or Carl Jung's psychiatric sofa, telling the world's most famous shrinks his subconscious dream-based world. The Broadway Melody of 1974 is a superlative example of Gabriel's dense catalog of references to American history and pop culture, where he masterfully paints a rich backdrop of metaphorical irony. This helps him invest in his character, Rail, his unsettling abstract notions of these familiar iconic figures set in juxtaposing context to their reality in history, i.e., they are doing things in this song that they'd never do in real life. Well, daunting as they may be, understanding the subtle meaning of each of these Who's Who in America references are actually less important than their overall effect of their busy procession through the song as symbols of a tumultuous era, the 1960s and 70s, in transition. Well, with that being said, let's progress through this amusing but thought-provoking tune line by line. And by the way, this was not retracked by Peter Gabriel for the archive release, only cleaned up and isolated digitally from the original live Shrine Auditorium recording of January 1975. So I will play the 1998 version. Here we go.
Echoes of the Broadway Everglades, with our mythical Madonnas still walking in their shades.
Well, Gabriel writes, "The final second of life is prolonged in a film reel world of echoes, as if concrete and clay of Broadway itself were reliving its memories. The great last march past, newsman stands limp as a whimper, as audience event are locked as one."
Lenny Bruce declares a truce and plays his other hand.
The infamous and brilliant comedian, best known for his satirical, profanity-laced black comedy act, Lenny Bruce was the first popular comedian to purposely use comedy to change societal perceptions by using disturbing subject matter, observation, and insights. In his lifetime, he was arrested but not convicted for profanity and drug possession, but he died of a drug overdose in 1968.
Marshall, McLuhan, casual view, head buried in the sand.
The well-known Canadian sociologist and pop culture theorist who put forth the now ubiquitous concept of fast-moving, cool technology-based mediums created a global village by their existence. Now, can anyone say the internet or social network are going viral, connecting us all like we are right now with this video? This analysis series truly is an excellent example of you and I being residents in Dr. McLuhan's neighborhood.
There's sirens on the rooftops waiting, but there's no ship sailing.
Greek mythology, my dears? Well, thanks to their education at the Charterhouse School, we all know that many members of Genesis were steeped in a classical education. The myth of the three sirens who would call the sailors to their deaths by wrecking their ships on the nearby rocks with their entrancing and harmonious voices. Gabriel conducts a witty turn of phrase and subject as he interweaves the mythological sirens' voices with those of the daily siren sounds emitted by the cops and emergency responders of Rail's modern New York City.
Groucho, with his movies trade, stands alone with his punchline failing.
Well, we all know Groucho Marx, of beloved Marx Brothers fame, hosted a TV show called You Bet Your Life after retiring from film, but revealed a darker side to his rapier, pun-emitting comedic persona via an autobiography published in 1973, just prior to a recording of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Duplex clients serve hot soul food. A band plays in the mood.
Well, other than the ludicrous visual suggesting of the KKK in their conical white hats and bedsheet cloaks serving African-American fried okra and chitlins to unknown guests, while listening to the Glenn Miller Orchestra's big band sound, you can enjoy Peter's exceptional use of assonance in his lyric writing skills. But therein lies a very puzzling moment here, which is brought on by Peter's misspeak of the name Ku Klux Klan. He unmistakably and clearly says Klu Klux Klan, and yet, being Peter, I can't imagine that that was done without a purpose. Is he being clever by giving us literally a clue buried within the tune? Or were he and the band just trying to run through the original vocal tracking of the tune at Island Studios in 1974 and left it as an oversight? Well, given that he and his team didn't correct it by slipping in a retract phrase in the archive release, I elect that it was indeed a purposed Gabriel witticism.
The cheerleader waves the cyanide one. There's a smelling peach blossom, bitter almond. Caryl Chessman sniffs the air and leads the parade. He knows, innocent, you can bottle all you may.
Well, this whole section deals with one of the first people to die in the gas chamber in California in 1960, shortly after a newly reinstated death penalty went into effect. The reference to the American cheerleader marching up America's Main Street, waving a wand that emits the telltale smell of cyanide gas, currently being used in gas chamber executions, is truly surreal. Well, many called for Caryl Chessman to be taken off of death row, since he had never actually killed anyone, only kidnapped, robbed, and raped as a repeat offender. While in prison, he learned to speak 4 languages, wrote several books, and made it through 8 stays of execution before finally losing his last appeal. When Gabriel sings, he knows innocent, he is likely making a pun on the word innocent at the same time, as he chides America to bottle all the circular criminal intent we make by having the death penalty in this country.
There's Howard Hughes in blue suede shoes, smiling at the majorette, smoking Winston cigarettes.
Well, the combination of the American billionaire aviator, movie producer, and businessman who is also an infamous hypochondriac and ladies' man in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s went into a self-imposed isolation as the 1960s and 70s were established. Howard Hughes was the least likely person to be participating in the enjoyment of the early days of Carl Perkins and Elvis Presley's rock and roll blue suede shoes, although in his younger days he would likely have been flirting with any smokin' females within a mile of his playboy persona.
And as the song and dance begins, the children play at home with needles and pins.
Well, even though this line picks up on a reference to the Searchers hit tune penned by Sonny Bono and Jack Nitzsche, many, including me, believe that Gabriel sewed in several anti-heavy drug use references into the lyrics of The Lamb, this being the first of them. A warning, perhaps, that the children of that era were growing up in a drug-laced society. Use of heroin had spread out from the cities into the suburbs from the 1960s to 70s, and I know because I was there. And many well-loved musicians of that day were either using, died from, or were trying to quit horse, including Ray Charles, Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix, Keith Richards, among others. The last song on this profound concept double album, It, has a line concerning hope for the dope who rides the horse without a hoof. And now, like Paul Harvey would say, you know the rest of the story. Good night, everyone.
Echoes of the Broadway Everglades with his other hand. Marshall, McLuhan, casual view, head buried in the sand. There's sirens on the rooftops waiting, but there's no ship sailing.